Hello, welcome to Car Crash Productions Instagram Live. Happy Monday, happy bank holiday. My name is Alex, for those of you who don't know who I am. Hello! And I am part of Car Crash's outreach programme. Today we're going to be interviewing my good friend Jes Rowe. Jes is an actor, but she's also the co-company founder, manager of the Fabularium. If you don't know who the Fabularium are, they're an outdoor... Oh, hello everyone, you're all popping up now. The Fabularium are an outdoor theatre company, so specialising in creating work to be performed outside. So we're going to be talking about how to create work that's performed not in a theatre, the pros and cons of it all. So just before Jes joins us today, just a little bit about who she is. So as well as an actor, I know her because we both studied at Coventry University, their theatre and professional practice course. She was 2 years above me and I thought she was just amazing. I had a little girl crush on her. I'm just embarrassing her now. And then since graduating, she's worked for the Fabularium and worked her way up from an actor to being the company manager. And she's also acted in other things as well. She was recently playing Gretel in The Twisted Tales of Hansel and Gretel with Open Theatre. I know she's played Titania in A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is a play that Car Crash have done themselves. And so when you're ready, Jes, I don't know how all this works. This is the first time that I've done anything like this. I know I did a live teaching a dance, but I've never done one interviewing someone. So this is all a bit new. Oh, there's a pop-up. Here we go. This is very exciting. Hello, everybody. Give a little wave if I can. Oh, hello. Hey!
Hello!
Hello!
This is so exciting.
This is so funny, isn't it? I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. What
Oh,
you got in
hi,
the
Alex.
background?
This is Rocinante. I'll show you. I thought I might just, spruce up the surroundings, but it just looks like he's eating my head.
A little
Um,
bit.
but I lift him up. There he is.
Oh,
We
and
can
is that
speak
in
about
one of
him.
your shows?
Yes, it's in that There Be Monsters show, and he's a farting rogue horse, which we can talk about a bit later because everybody wants to know about
Absolutely.
that.
So, Jes Rowe, who are you? For those of you who don't know who you are, which is shocking, but
Because
who are you? What do
everybody
you
knows.
do? Exactly.
I am a freelance actress and practitioner and co-company manager of the Fabularium since 2018. So coming on 3 years now this year. And been freelance basically since I left uni, which was all those years ago back in 2014.
That's mad, isn't it?
Doesn't it seem like a lifetime ago, Alex?
Crazy. I'm
It
just going to
really does.
interrupt you and let everyone know that this video will be saved. It will be going on YouTube. So it's a bank holiday Monday. So, if you end up going on a walk instead, we get it. You can come and watch this later, but we hope you
Fine.
stay anyway. And if there's any problems with hearing us, let us know in the comments and I'll try and keep on top of it. And
Yeah,
before
can
we
you hear me
carry on,
okay?
I can hear you fab, but I
Great.
just make sure everyone else can. There's also a little question button at the bottom of the screen. I can see it. I don't know if you can see it, Jes. It's like a little question mark.
Hmm.
Can you see
No,
it?
I feel
No.
like an old grand. I'm like, what's this
You
do?
little horses.
I can
Well, if you
see.
can see it, for those
Right.
watching, you can click on it and ask us a question, and then at the
Oh.
end, near the end of the live, we can get them to pop up and see what people want to know.
Oh, this is gonna be
I know,
fun.
the technical things.
Oh
So, who
God,
are the Fabularium? What do they do?
that's a very good question. Good question to start off with. So the Fabularium are an outdoor theatre company. Well, predominantly outdoors.
Mm.
And we make family theatre shows, which includes static cart shows for from small to mid-scale, and then we do walkabout animations, which can tour in the middle of the street, at a summer fete, at a massive festival. So you can kind of pick them up and take them anywhere.
So
And
what is a walkabout animation? I mean, I know because I've done it, but for those of you who don't, you might think a comic. What is that?
no, it's a good question. Basically, it's street theatre kind of at its peak. So when you're at the Edinburgh Fringe and you see people on the streets and they're kind of doing a little routine in the middle of the street, kind of looking improvised. That's what we kind of do. We take our own like little stories and little acts, little fruits, and we take them onto the streets, in and amongst the people, and that way we can have really organic and fun interactions with the audience.
Yeah.
So sometimes they're the funniest because you can actually talk to the people up close, and some crazy things have happened, or sometimes, most of the time, they're just like, "What are you doing?
What is that?
What are you doing? Why are you dressed like that?"
I remember being a sheep and walking around Selfridges in Birmingham. I'm trying to remember
It's
what
so
we did it
random, isn't it?
for. I can't remember. Do you know what we
It
did it
was,
for?
I think I do. It was to do with the Birmingham Hippodrome,
Yeah.
and I think it was to promote Summer in Southside, which is a festival that happens in July. Obviously, I don't think that's happening yet, but I haven't heard anything about that either. But yeah, we've done that a couple of years, and we did a bit of promo for it beforehand. And yeah, the sheep are one of the walkabouts that kind of come in their flock, and they cause chaos in and around wherever they go.
Absolutely. Stealing drinks,
And
trolleys.
we do get a lot of drinks and food. That is one of the perks
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
coming to work with us. So,
So
but
tell me
yeah,
a bit
that's
about how the Fabularium came to be. So how did you get involved with the company?
So I'll go back to the very beginning then. So around 2010, I believe, the Fabularium was set up as a kind of a research project for the Coventry University, which was started by Glenn Noble, the artistic director and also lecturer at the Coventry University. And it was for postgraduates and students to kind of come together and create this festival kind of ensemble in the middle of towns and cities, particularly within Coventry, because that's where it was based. And so, yes, it started there, and we were part of, the Fabularium was part of the Coventry Mysteries Festival, which got some funding, and we could go in and around Coventry and pop up and do all these kind of things. And then in 2014, Josh and Gareth, my other two company members, who I've seen are watching, hello! They set it up as a limited company, so it's a standalone limited company that can tour around and exist on its own. So then in 2013, I joined while it was still part of the university, and then hi Josh, and then when it and then when it rolled over to 2014, the Fabularium did something called the DELI program, which I researched and found out that it meant Destination of Leavers for Higher Education, just in case anybody wanted to know that. And it was kind of like,
oh, I'm just being staged here. Let me just move the cat out of the way. Come on,
it's
Leo.
very realistic. We have a cat, but it doesn't look as realistic as that one. And
sorry, what were you saying?
The DELI program was kind of like an intensive week crash course into what the Fabularium does. So in that week, we learned all about the circus skills that we use, and crash course into using the headpieces. They've got a bit of a knack and a technique to them. We learned all of that in a week. And then after that, there was some opportunity to work with the company on a freelance basis for these walkabout animations that we were talking about. So then I did one of those in 2014. I believe the first one is in Birkenhead somewhere. And then after that, they, in the midst of that, they were setting up their first static show called the Town Band of Bremen. And then I was asked to join that, and then we toured that, and then it kind of spiraled. Then I did the next show, and then the next show, and then 2018, I was kindly asked to run the Fabularium with them, which I guess means more artistic input, and obviously the less exciting things like admin and things like that, but I'm really enjoying, and I'm really proud to kind of be on the inside and to get to decide what we do next and where the future is.
Absolutely, it's very exciting. So I think we should probably let people know sort of what a Fabularium show is a bit like, because it's not like, if people have seen pictures and stuff, they might be thinking, what are those things on the heads? What's that all about?
Yeah, well, that's just their
what
faces.
Is it? Yeah, what's happening? So what is that all about?
So we we're not restricted to animal headpieces, but we do use, when it started, when it was part of Coventry University, Glenn kind of wanted a medieval theme in his, there's a module at university called New Landscapes, and it's when you get to do outdoor performance, which I think personally is a really good module to have at a university for theatre. And he wanted to draw upon the original performance techniques and methods, and performing on carts was a real important part of it. And they also had animals from the bestiary, so they had people in medieval clothes but with animal heads on, which did cover their full faces.
Okay.
But Glenn kind of wanted to still see the player underneath, so we act as these, you know, players and actors, but Glenn kind of wanted to still see the faces, so he had talks with Russell Dean, who runs Strange Face Theatre Company, and he made some maquettes, some little models, if you will, of these players wearing these animal headpieces that kind of sit above here. I've got one, I'll show you in a minute.
Yeah.
And then Richard Johnston was commissioned to make 12 that they could use in a big bunch. So they range from like pigs and sheep and wolves and lions and things like that. So yeah, and we kind of use those now to tell old folk tales. And like I say, we're not limited to them, because there is a couple of shows, one static promenade show that we don't use them for, but we also find it's a really unique selling point, because I'm not aware of that many companies that use them. Let me show you one. Do you want to see?
Yeah, one? Absolutely. Which one are you going to go for?
This is the nearest one. I'll give you a clue.
Is it Crow? The Crow!
It is the Crow!
Yeah!
You could have
10
done.
points.
Can you tell what it is? Yeah, you do definitely win. So yeah, shall I put it on?
Yeah, please do.
It's a bit big on my head, but yeah, they kind of sit on top, and we kind of use these eyes rather than these eyes, and we kind of manipulate them in a way that they become quite realistic. Yeah. So yeah, that's what they're like. Messed my hair up now.
Sorry.
No, but it's all right. But yeah, so some of them, and a full mask. Glenn also told me that he didn't want a full mask because they look quite threatening. I mean, I know this one does look quite threatening anyway, but if you can see the person underneath the mask, you can still have that interaction with.
Exactly, because the Fabularium is a family company. You do lots of shows for families, and you perform at festivals and things like that. And I guess with the masks as well, it draws a lot of people in that maybe aren't watching the show, and they're like, what's that over there? Because it works really well in an outdoor setting.
That's right. So, and it's also, if people don't want to necessarily come and sit really close and listen to the story, they can still admire from afar, and they can still be engaged, even if they're like 3 foot, 10 foot away.
I think it's funny as well. I remember, I think I played Lot the Hare, which is a hare, and you're in this hare, and it's a great character. I love it. But the kids, I think, get really drawn in. They really believe you're this animal, to the point that, you know, after the show, you're walking about without the headpiece on. They don't even know that it's you, despite the fact they can see your face under the mask. And I think maybe that's down to the physicality, or maybe it is because you're focusing on the eyes. They don't realise that there's a person underneath. I don't know.
Definitely. I think physicality is definitely something that we really focus on. We encourage people who work with us to kind of go and look at the animals that they're playing, and kind of personify them, and how does a hare run around, and how do they jump, and what do they do. And we always find that looking in a mirror with the headpiece is really important, because sometimes, I know the donkey we've got especially kind of basically covers, Gareth wears it quite a lot, it covers his face quite a lot, and he's basically like looking down at the ground to kind of see where he's going. But if he knows where these eyes are, he can still be engaged with all the audience.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
I want to know, Jess, when you're rehearsing a show, what do you do to make sure it's suitable to be performed outdoor that maybe you wouldn't do with a normal show in theatre? Is there anything you have to focus on? Is there anything where you're creating a show you have to think about?
Definitely. I think outdoors, I wouldn't say, well, I'm going to use the word spectacle.
Okay.
So I think the
Makes you
animal
think of like a
headpieces.
magic trick.
Well, that's it. But it's like you said about the headpieces. It's
Mm.
something that draws people in. If
Mm-hmm.
whereas indoors you can definitely be a bit more subtle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to think, or I will say that I don't think outdoor theatre, most of the time, is not not subtle. I think loud and proud, big and bold, out there, and really like grabbing people in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like I say, if people can watch from afar and don't want to get involved, they can still see the spectacle of what's going on. What else would I say? We use lots of different, especially in the Fabularium, we use lots of different devices and different skills. So we have puppetry, we do mask work, we do acro sometimes, we do lots of live music. So it's really kind of bringing all the skills of kind of like a traveling troupe that
Mm-hmm.
kind of move around, pop up, do their thing, and then put it back in and then go off again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as many things to entertain the audiences as possible keeps them really
Yeah.
engaged.
And where do you get your ideas for your stories from?
Good question. We do most of the stories. I mean, I think all of them. The walkabouts are based on Aesop's fables and old folk tales, because
Mm-hmm.
obviously medieval style, the mummers plays. But we try and take folk tales from all around the world, which helps us delve into different cultures. So then that can really affect the style that we use in each show. So our recent show, Hair and Moon, was based in Siberia. So we had a music consultant that could help us really change the style of, still stay within the style of Fabularium, but the music had a bit of a twist, and the costumes had a bit more of a furriness about them because it's meant to be nice and warm. And yeah, we like taking different folk tales from different places.
And
And
if
then we
people want to
adapt them.
watch the Hair and Moon, they can on YouTube,
Mm,
can't they? Is
they
it just
can. Good
on the
plug.
Fabularium or?
It's on the Fabularium YouTube page, yeah. And linked to that is a little GoFundMe page that if anybody is in the position to do that, it's just on a donation basis. We're not asking for much, but if you enjoy the show and feel that you can donate, that would be really awesome.
I want
But
to
yeah,
know what the pros and cons are for like working outdoor. Is there anything when you're performing? Like I noticed, this is what made me think of it. In the Hair and Moon, the one that's on YouTube, you have a bit of
uh-huh.
wind problem in that, and some of the sets like, and I feel like that's
Do
really
you mean
realistic.
personally? Do you mean I had a wind problem
I mean, I could
personally?
hear it from there.
I had the microphone in the wrong place. Yes, I would say the weather can be a pro and a con.
Mm.
There's been many a time where it's rained while we're putting the set up, and we've put the set up in sunny sunshine. And then 5 minutes before the show, it's absolutely chucked it down, and we were
Mm.
like, oh. And we have a policy, well, we don't want to damage the set and we don't want to damage the headpieces because they're very, very fragile. So
Mm.
we kind of have to make a decision based on how heavy the rain is. But most of the time we try and strive on and go through. We've relocated under like big trees before now to kind of like shelter the rain a bit. There was one fantastic performance where it was absolutely chucking it down all day, and we covered it in a massive tarp, and then we were like, we don't think we're going to be able to do this. And I think we we had audience members sitting on picnic blankets underneath umbrellas, like, we are going to do this, we are going to watch this show. And we were like, oh gosh, we don't know. And then just about as it hit showtime, it was beautiful and sunny. So it was
Oh,
they knew.
the theatre
Um,
gods
they
have
knew
come back
they were
again.
watching us. So yeah, I also think a pro to working outdoors is it can be anywhere.
Yeah.
You could go and do some outdoor theatre in your street right now if you really, really, really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, don't all the logistics and the technicalities that kind of come with indoor theatre are reduced. There's obviously different risks and technicalities for outdoors.
Yeah.
And also, I think personally, the interaction with the audience is really, really strong,
Mm-hmm.
which I really love. Like you say, talking to the kids afterwards,
Yeah.
and families, and we've built up some really nice relationships with some families that follow us around, and it's
Hmm.
just really, really lovely. Um, Cons. Yeah, we've had a couple of, when we carry a big set round, had a couple of issues trying to get into places and
Mm.
heavy lifting, and
Hmm.
it's definitely not an easy job, but I think all the pros outweigh the cons, in my personal opinion. But we
Mm.
have done indoor shows. We are trying to, we've got indoor version of one of our other shows called Reynard, that we've just done an indoor version of at Lakeside Arts Centre in Nottingham.
Oh,
Oh yes, and we're
I
trying
know that
to.
venue.
Do you?
I do. I
It's
went to
very nice
see,
venue.
I think it's Blue Stockings, that play. I think I went to see
Oh,
that there a couple of years ago. Yeah, it's
it's a
nice.
fabulous venue, yeah, and they're really supportive in helping us progress, like make that transition from outdoors to indoors. Um, so yeah, so we'd love to really hone in on that kind of relationship and kind of work when we build a show, kind of mold it for an indoor audience that maybe we can tour to little
Mm.
studio venues and things like that. Because yeah, I think it's it really works indoors as well. There's definitely modifications,
Yeah.
but it works indoors
Must be
too.
exciting to have like lights as well. Like, what are
It
these
is.
lights?
I know it is, and but then you realise you're like, oh my goodness, I'm so warm. Like I
Yeah.
thought I was warm working outside, but when you're under
Hmm.
those lights, I'm like, ah, I hate this. So
Absolutely. So, how
yeah.
do you decide? Because obviously you're a predominantly touring theatre company. How do you decide where to go? And yeah, how do you book those things? Because you've worked in festivals and you've said inside as well.
So we've got a producer called Lou Lomas, and she's big on the old outdoor circuit scene. Um, but she's been working. She also went to Coventry University,
Mm,
so
yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah, so it's all like a nice little tight knit Coventry University clan. And she's been working in the industry for a very, very long time. So she helps us with rural touring, and with there's other networks like Live and Local that kind of get the indoor gigs as well. And yeah, I think once we've got for example, one gig, we really like to hone in on that relationship and do as much as we can while we're there and kind of keep in contact with them afterwards. So once we don't like to think, oh, we've just done that show and then we'll leave. We
Hmm.
kind of do the show and then ask them if they need anything else, or we'll tell them about what's coming up next, and just give them a message and tell them what we're doing throughout the month, just so they keep up to date and things like that.
Hmm.
But there's also commissions and things as well that you can do if people are interested. So I know Outdoor Arts UK post a lot of opportunities for outdoor artists, and NASA UK, which is the National Association of Street Artists, they also post a lot of opportunities for outdoor performers. And then, yeah, just commission basis, we've applied for lots of things that are commission based. Some that sometimes we've never been given the opportunity to fully explore. But
Hmm.
yeah, there's sometimes it just takes that one commission to go, right, we're going to make a show about this horse. And then you get the horse built, and then you find that, oh, there's a whole other world that goes with the horse that you can then build upon.
Is that a true story?
No, no, it's not. No, the horse is a part of another show called There Be Monsters, which is based on the folk tale, old tale of Don Quixote.
Don
Uh,
Quixote. No.
yeah, he's a Spanish knight who reads a lot of books, and then his stories kind of come to life. And this is his noble steed, or called the Rocinante.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So, how has sort of coronavirus affected the Fabularium? Because right now, we're entering June. That's usually when you're out and about doing
Mm,
things. Is that all on hold at the moment?
definitely. We've we've had pretty much everything cancelled apart from two gigs that are still kind of pending, but we're tentatively thinking that they might not happen. It's been really, it has been really difficult actually to begin with, and it's really changed our mindset of how we work. It's basically trying to now take an outdoor theatre company. indoors and online. And it's like, how on earth do you do that? But I think without the creative minds that we are there, we've just found ways of working and applying for funding to help cover like cost of storage and insurance and things like that. You know, things that you would, when you're working regularly, you kind of go, oh yeah, that comes out every month. And then when you get no gigs and you get no money, you go, oh no, I pay that every month. So we've been fortunate enough to receive some emergency funding from Arts Council, which will now
Is that
allow
something you've
us.
had to apply for, or?
Yeah, so it was it's a big application process that I think the Arts Council usually award money for artists and performers and companies to create shows. And before coronavirus, they give out project grants, and you can apply to be, if you're a bigger company, you can apply to be an MPO, which you get like funding for 3 years to create work over 3 years, or you can apply for individual grants. So if I wanted to upskill myself, I could say, I'm going to France to learn how to play the clarinet with a really famous clarinetist.
That sounds great.
Why not? I might apply. But yeah, you can upskill that way. But all of that has unfortunately stopped. So they were focusing on these emergency COVID-19 grants to award to companies that needed the help during this time, but also to create some online content. So we've when we applied, we are now going to create our stories into audiobooks, illustrated audiobooks. So we're going to take all of our tales and we're going to work with our in-house designer, Johnny Dixon, who makes all of our set and our designs, and it's awesome. And he's going to illustrate some stories for us, and we're going to tell the story online and hopefully give that same Fabularium experience, but through an online illustrated storybook. Yeah.
That's
quite
exciting, because you wouldn't have even thought of doing that if this hadn't have happened. So
well, yeah, it's true. I mean, it's kind of always been in the back of our mind. It's like, oh, we could definitely do that, but then it just kind of, it was like, right, that idea that we had that may have not happened is now like, this is the plan we're going with.
What we got? Radio plays as
well. Yeah, definitely. Love
and where can we listen to them?
Well, we're undergoing that at the moment. So if you follow us on our social media, you can definitely keep up to date with that. So we're at the Fabularium across Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and things like that. But hopefully by mid-June, we'll have the first one kind of ready to trial and send out to people to have a listen to. So yeah, if you want to get involved with that,
absolutely.
Get involved.
So are you still planning work for next year, or are you sort of focusing on the audiobooks right now?
No, we're definitely still looking to the future, because we're going to keep going whatever happens. So you may or may not know, people who are watching, but City of Culture this year for 2021 is for Coventry. And obviously being a Coventry-based company, we were like, yes, let's go. But now we're obviously very unsure about what that does to the plans for 2021. But we're going to go ahead anyway and act as if it's going to be all fine and dandy and nothing ever happened and we woke up in a bad dream or something like that.
I wish.
You never know.
Are you making any new shows? Yeah.
So yeah, the plan that we have at the moment is we're going to adapt a poem called The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. It's quite a famous poem about a man who goes on a voyage and he encounters death and an albatross, and we kind of want to go bigger and better this time. So we've slowly kind of got progressively bigger as a company, which is really good. And we want to build a ship, and we want to have pyrotechnics, and we want to have a real albatross. No, we don't. but yeah, we want to work closely with some kind of like physical theatre movement companies, and
that's exciting.
And it is. It's very ambitious, but I think why not?
Yeah.
City of Culture, let's show people what we can do and
I
push
think as well,
ourselves a
it
little bit more.
sort of challenges people's perception of what outdoor theatre is and street theatre. Like often you just think it's quite minimal, but I think I've definitely noticed with the Fabularium, you have got bigger and bigger each year, like the Hare and the Moon. You know, you've got
Mm.
this giant, like an iceberg, like mountain in the background.
Yeah,
And
so
yeah,
we made a snowy mountain backdrop that also has a hidden cave inside. So now you push it open and there's a
spoilers.
cave. Oh yeah, sorry. There's a cave.
Ah,
But you don't know what lives in the cave, so you're gonna have to
no.
watch it to go and find out.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but that's the beauty of it, I think. It can be this big, massive spectacle with the pyros and the live music and whatever you want it to be, but also it can be really intimate and you can have one standalone performer
Mm.
just it going in and around audiences and interacting. So there's a big old scope of what outdoor theatre can
Mm.
be.
So really, when you think about it, there might be more of a positive with outdoor theatre and the coronavirus, like jumping back a lot quicker than, oh, there's
Oh,
my cat, than like a
hello.
theatre venue.
For sure, I think outdoor artists and performers have got to kind of like lead the way with this now. I think we've got to be the ones that keep those
Keeps
spirits
theatre
high,
alive,
yeah,
yeah.
and keep the entertainment going, obviously at safe distance and with all the
Hmm.
restrictions and the safety measures that we have to go through. But, we could go with maybe spoke about maybe going down residential areas and kind of we could literally put on a headpiece and a costume and
And just
I could go to
walk,
my street
yeah,
now
yeah,
and go, do you want to hear a story? And everybody could just look out their windows
absolutely.
and
Absolutely. I was just imagining, you people are going to fields with their families and keeping a safe distance. I can just imagine, like, little Lop the Hare coming about singing a song,
bouncing around.
and it's still entertaining people and keeping that magic there. Keep theatre
That's it.
alive, says Danielle. Absolutely.
So I think if anybody is thinking about maybe doing something or thinking, oh, how can I change that indoor thing to an outdoor thing? I think now is really a good time because the outdoors is always going to be there. And yes, there'll be restrictions, but I think people will want to be outside and want to engage with theatre a lot quicker than indoors stuff,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, I
So
think you're
yeah,
right. I think my dad was ringing me the other day and he was like, being all pessimistic and like, oh, what are you going to do about your career? I was like, great, thanks, Dad. And he was like, I wouldn't go
yes,
and visit a theatre. And I was like, well, yeah, the idea of going to a theatre right now is quite uncomfortable, but everyone's going to, a park and being safe about it. And so if
hmm
you're able to bring theatre in that way, like it's not like theatre's just dead right now. Like there is
no,
other options. The wilderness must be explored, says
it
Colby.
must be. It must be explored. Get out there safely.
Yeah, there is
Um,
hope. There is hope.
there is, and it will return. The indoor will return slowly and surely, and some places may not return. But I think it's all about it's bringing it to the people now, isn't it? Like they can't come to us anymore. They can't come to the venues, and they can't see us. So I think why not bring it to them? And if
Hmm.
people are out and about in a park, like you say, for a couple of hours, then there could be easily be some kind of stand-up walkabout, you know,
Yeah,
two-hander little story that could be
yeah.
safely managed and shared.
And you might even bring theatre to people who have never seen it before as well. And then suddenly
That's
they
it.
get hooked and you bring in a whole new audience in that way. Or people, you know, accessibility problems maybe, and you're bringing it straight to them, which is
Exactly.
wonderful.
And that's also another fantastic pro of outdoor theatre.
Hmm.
Like anybody and everyone, most of the time, the shows that we produce they're not ticketed. So you could literally like walk through town and see it and go, oh, I've got an hour to spare. Great, let's go and watch this show. And
Hmm.
it could be such a lovely surprise, but also anyone and everyone can get involved, whether it's 6 miles, like not 6 miles because you might not see it, but 6 foot away, you can see it off in the distance, or you
Yeah.
can be right in the action. So there's something for everyone, even if you're not sure about it. There's probably a
Mm.
little glimmer. You're like, oh, I really like that bit when, I don't know, she slapped him over the head with the frying pan, or
Yeah.
and then if that's just that one moment that you take away, then I think you've engaged in some way.
I think as well, I'm just thinking about street theatre, and it's interesting that for some reason the idea is quite scary. Like, as a performer, like, just doing a random street show seems a bit daunting as opposed to in a theatre. And I don't know whether it's because, people are coming to the theatre, they know what to expect, they know you're acting. Whereas in a
Mm.
street show, it's a bit
Mhm.
more vulnerable. So, what would you say to people that maybe have considered street theatre but are a bit scared of it? Is there any advice you would give them?
Um, I think I think it's scary if you're well. Again, I think there are positives and negatives. But I think if you're not quite sure, if you've got a little idea and you're not quite sure how it's going to go, that could be really scary. But also, if you've got a little idea and you're not sure how it's going to go, but somebody engages with it and you get some kind of response, your idea is ultimately and immediately changed into something new. And also, if it goes wrong, it's so much more forgiving outside than if it's indoors. Like you say, everybody's standing there watching you in this kind of
Mm,
dark
mm,
theatre with your lights on you. And if I sometimes mess my lines up, shock
what?
horror. But if I do that indoors, it's like, what? She's just made a little error there. But outdoors, I could
Mm,
just be really, really open with the audience and go, well, I should have learnt my script. Never mind. And it kind of becomes part of the performance, and
yeah.
it it's part of the charm of outdoor theatre. I think it's rough and it's ready, and it's with the people. It's for the people. Um, but
I
yeah,
feel like I
I
want to do
understand.
some outdoor theatre right now. I feel very inspired. I'm
Do
like,
it,
let's just
do
create a
it,
show, go and
do
perform
it.
it on my run down the canal. I'll just randomly stop and do something, see what
Just have a
happens.
little sing along. Why
Yeah,
not?
yeah.
Because it's those little acts, it's those little random pop-up things that you never thought that you were going to see. You might just be going down to Tesco and then you see this random Walkabout act pop up and you're like,
Hmm.
that's why did I just see all those sheep like playing on that playground? But that moment will be like, that was the highlight of my day, or um yeah, the spontaneity of it all can be quite magical, I think.
I'm just seeing if I've got any questions that I haven't mentioned yet before we get on to,
To rotate to the floor.
yeah. I think the last thing I wanted to talk about, which is kind of going away from outdoor theatre a little bit,
Hmm.
but I think is quite relevant right now, is a little discussion about side hustle jobs. So for
Okay.
those, for people that are aspiring performers out there,
Hmm.
Jes Rowe, I feel, is the queen of the multiple jobs. I feel like you're always doing something. It's always like right now, Jes is working with an entertainment company, a party entertainment company, and she's
Yeah.
doing live quizzes and scavenger hunts for kids watching.
I'm basically just acting like a 5-year-old, aren't I?
Yeah, but I feel like it's quite realistic. Like, as an actor and as a performer, as a director, like, you often have to have multiple jobs. So
Yeah.
how do you go about finding your jobs? What do you
Oh,
do?
good question. So yeah, so the kind of freelance opportunities I do or have done. Um, so I work for a children's entertainment company that do birthday parties and magic shows and hotel live entertainment and things like that. I also am a freelance drama and dance facilitator for schools.
Hmm.
Obviously that's been quite difficult and non-existent at the moment. Um, but again, they're finding ways of putting online content and things. What else do I do? And then obviously work as freelance actress
Hmm.
and perform with other companies and projects and things like that. Um,
Mm.
so this has taken up a lot of my time at the moment, and obviously everybody's working in different ways. But I think this is a good opportunity if you're thinking, I've got nothing to do, I've got no side hustles or freelance stuff. Now, I think is a really good time if you want to, and if you've got the motivation and it's something that you really want to do, is kind of perfect your craft, kind of maybe pick up a new skill or go, oh, I really needed to get my show reel together.
Mm.
Right, let's learn some monologues and kind of get a self-tape set up ready for when
Hmm.
those castings kind of come in and you go, yeah, I've got the perfect self-tape that when you're busy you don't have time to do. Because sometimes I've like been given jobs and I'm like, I just don't have time to film this because
Yeah.
I've got, like you say, I've got five other million things going on. But if you've got like a back catalogue of like say 5 self-tapes, you could just go, here, take this. Which one do you want? Do you want my Shakespeare? Do you want my contemporary? Or do you want my funny one?
All of the
uh,
above. We've got a question
uh,
here from Stephanie. How do you perfect your craft online? Would you get feedback from others on what you post?
I think that's a really good question.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm quite fortunate that I work with a lot of my friends, and a lot of my friends, most of my friends, I'd say all of my friends
Yeah.
are are creatives or actors or
Hmm.
performers or artistic in some kind of way. So I think if you find someone that you kind of trust or you feel like can give quite good feedback, and I also know there's some kind of like theatre groups on Facebook, some like freelance. I think I'm in charge, not in charge. I'm a part of like a Midlands based one.
Mm.
So if you like feel confident enough, you could definitely like post it on there and say, this is my first draft. I'm looking for some criticism or feedback. Any
Mm.
help would, and I'm sure there's loads of people that would really love to help.
Absolutely. I would love to
And
help as well. If people have got things and they want to
yeah,
send it to Car Crash, like I will watch them and give feedback. Absolutely.
likewise,
Mm.
feel free to send anything to Fabularium. Happy to
Yeah.
always help with that. Also, but I also think, oh yeah, so and it's just a time to do things that you never usually have time to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like just take some more time, even if it's like reading. You're like,
Yeah.
I just even just reading some books will like make your mind a lot more creative without you even knowing
Hmm.
about it. And you,
Absolutely.
and there's a lot of online theatre to watch at the moment. Just
Yeah.
like right, I've had to write a list so much. I'm like,
I
I
think you need to
can't
share that
cope.
with me.
I know it's so much. I just can't cope. But the National Theatre have loads of amazing
Yeah.
stuff going on, and there's some if you like your musicals, the Andrew Lloyd Webber
On
ones
the
are on a
Friday night.
Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Complicity's Encounter is up
Yeah.
at the moment.
It's
Um,
weirdly finding time now, isn't it? All of a sudden
mm,
you get very busy when you try and plan all these things to do. Bristol Old
yeah,
Vic says
yeah, they've
Colby.
got loads of stuff going on as well. But I think what I've had to do is like make a list of the ones I really want to watch,
Yeah.
and write the dates that they stop streaming. Because I'll
Hmm.
go, right, it's now time for me to watch Frankenstein with
And it's,
Benedict Cumberbatch. And
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, it
and it's
stopped
gone.
last week.
Literally.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Are
yeah,
you
make a list.
ready to see? Let's see what questions
Do they pop
people have
up?
got.
What happens?
I can see them, and then
Oh,
I think we can click on them. Let's have a look. Let's see what this one is.
oh yeah!
How do you
Wow,
think
this
outdoor theatre companies can influence and revive the industry as we come out of lockdown, but
lockdown book.
social distancing continues?
Hmm. So, how do you think adults think of him? I think it's. I think at the moment it's not about taking it to massive parks where loads of people are going to be. I think maybe it's thinking about your local area.
Hmm.
I know there's like a little green over where I live, and it's about maybe thinking about just those little ones to slowly kind of manage that.
Yeah.
I know. I know some companies we're in talks at the moment with Tameside. We're based in Manchester, and Ben there, he's worked with us quite closely. He's really keen to kind of still get us out there, and he's kind of working to find the different locations. Usually we'd be in a big park, and now I
Mm,
think it's about scaling it down just a
mm.
little bit. Because also, if you do in a big park and everyone's sat 2 meters apart, people are going to be sat for like
Yeah.
miles and miles, and it's just not going to be the same experience. So I think it's being brave. I think we do have to be brave, and you have to, I think, go with your own risk. It is a risky thing, and
Hmm.
I think if you're prepared for that, and as long as you're not going to touch anybody,
Yeah.
but I think it's about where people can see at a distance are from their own houses. So every week when we clap for the NHS on the doorstep, that means everybody's out their doors looking onto the street. That means anything could happen in that moment. People are playing music, people are
Yeah.
singing songs, people could tell a story. Um, So yeah, it's thinking about maybe those unusual spaces that we wouldn't really have theatre in,
Yeah.
and
Like people are going on their weekly
occupying.
shop and they're waiting in line to go in.
Yeah,
Like there's
queues.
something you could doing because then they're keeping their safe distance.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying you by yourself ponder up and start delivering some Shakespeare, but you know you could. Why not? And
Yeah.
there's a show there.
Well, that's
People are
it.
waiting.
And in the when maybe shops do start to reopen, maybe there's an option for entertaining those cities again at a
Hmm.
safe distance. And then we'll just go back to our roots, like what we Fabularium did right in the middle of Coventry Town City Centre.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
pop
yeah.
up and just while people are waiting to queue for, I don't know, what are people going to queue for first? Primark, maybe. I don't
Get their
know.
eyebrows done. That's what I want to
Ah!
do.
I need to get my hair cut so bad. But when people are queuing up, there's no reason why, if we're stood right in the middle and all the queues are around, why can't there be a song or a thing going on?
Stephanie asks, would you live stream an outdoor performance?
Yeah,
Mm.
totally. So we have thought about that actually. We work quite closely with a
Oh.
theatre company called Wild Rumpus, who
Hmm.
will have a base in Cheshire, where we do Just So. Here's a cup from that festival.
Hey,
That
did you
was
plan
definitely.
that?
I thought about it, but I was like, oh, I'll use this cup just in case it comes up. And it did, good. But they've got a lovely residence where they've got a big field and some caravans, and they sometimes kindly let us stay there. And we're thinking about setting up the stages there and live streaming them to
Mm.
events that were going to maybe book us, and now they can't, but they still want
Yeah.
to do something for that festival. So
Mm.
obviously, Hair and Moon is on YouTube now, but that was from last year. But I think if there's three of us in our company, and if we're all happy to kind of be, I'm going to use the word exposed, but the risks that comes with, and we could live stream it there and then, and yeah, it could
Yeah.
be put anywhere. So I
Shall I
think
see
that.
what other questions are? Here's a logisticy one here
Uh-oh.
from Tom. What are the big issues with licenses
Licensings.
you find for outdoor theatre?
I mean, as a company, you have to have your own PLI, so your personal liability insurance. You have to have your own insurance. And it depends what kind of place you're thinking to go and perform with. So
Mm.
obviously, sometimes the council owns the land, so the council needs to know. Um, and sometimes, most places, I mean, we get booked through companies mainly, so they kind of sort that out for us. But I guess if you wanted to go off the cuff, then I
Yes.
think
So
just
maybe
be.
if you're going to do a show outside Aldi, maybe ask Aldi first, see if it's all right.
I mean, it's always good to ask, isn't it? It is
Yeah.
always good to ask. Um, Licenses. Yeah, I don't think not like a busking license. You don't need anything like that if that's what you're thinking. But obviously, you don't want to disrupt people, a course offence, or if you're going to go around,
I'm
I
just
don't know,
seeing what else there
upsetting
is on
people.
there. I feel like we might have touched on this one, but just in case if there's anything more to add, any advice on emerging artists who want to do an outdoor
Oh.
performance and where starts? We have
Joshua
sort of
Anderson.
from Joshua Anderson. Hello, Josh. So yeah, if people maybe have just joined us and have missed us talking about this before, could go
Yeah.
over that. Anything you want to say about
Hmm. So we work with Coventry University quite closely in trying to emerge artists out of that and who want to kind of dip their toe into outdoor theatre.
that? Hmm.
But I think the there he is. I think the advice I would give is number one, go and see a lot of work if you can. Number two, just speak to people, like ask questions. If you're like, I really want to um, learn to play the guitar, and you really really want to do that, and you don't really know, maybe you don't want to pay for lessons, or you're not sure where to start, just ask somebody who you think might know. I think we're all a bit shy in asking for
Yeah,
help
sometimes,
sometimes, and
aren't we?
kind
Yeah.
of kind of dents our pride a bit, and is like, no, I can do it on my own. But you get so much further if you ask for help. I'm
Mhm.
telling you now, that's a really, we work with so many people on our projects, like we collaborate with loads and loads of artists, and some people don't know, it's like sharing skills, isn't it?
Yeah.
I also think you should sign up if you want to emerging outdoor artists, I think
Mhm.
sign up to NASA UK, because they have a lot of like workshoppy things and things like that. And then follow the companies that you really like, um, and email for them for maybe some work opportunities.
Mhm.
I know, um, I had a workshop with Global Grooves, who are based in the north, who do parades and like massive puppets. Like I'm talking humongous puppets, but they did like a big open day of like come and test our puppets, and
Mm.
it was basically just like a workshop. But from that, there was employable opportunities. So I think find the companies that really interest you,
Mhm.
and then just give them a message like.
Yeah.
There's no harm. If they say no, we're not, we're not doing anything right now, then you've tried. But I think, yeah, hone in on what it is you really want to do, because that will
Mhm.
help you find the companies as well. I know it's really difficult. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, I still don't know what it is that I do. Like you say, I do so many things, but I'm like, I couldn't tell you what my job is.
I don't think that matters anymore. Like, I think I had an epiphany a year ago where I was like trying to be a director, which I still count myself as a director. But
Sure.
I suddenly was like, oh, does that mean I can't act anymore? Does that mean I can't choreograph anymore? And then I suddenly
Hell no.
realized that no, I just won't be defined by anything. Like, if you just
Yeah.
do everything.
You're an artist,
And
and that
thank
covers
you. Thanks,
everything.
Jess. I really
You're
appreciate that.
welcome.
You are an artist as
I hope
well.
that helps. I'm sorry that's really waffly, and
No,
I
I think
think,
definitely it's just reaching out and seeing what's out there. I always look on arts jobs as well.
yeah,
Um,
Arts Jobs is a good one. And if you're really wanting to devise and make work, look for those commissions and go, right,
mm,
Josh Anderson, I've got a pair of stilts. And then a
yeah.
commission comes up to make something in the woods to do with, I don't know, trees. And you're like, right, how do I get this money and incorporate what I want, my skills that I already have into this commission?
Yeah.
And sometimes that might, start you off. But I think outdoor artists join Outdoor Arts UK and NASA UK,
Hmm.
for they give out loads of opportunities, and they do some really good networking events as well that
Thanks.
help.
I think you've answered that really well. Let's have a look to see if there's any more. Ooh. I want to hear about this one, so I'm going to
Oh
pop this
no.
up.
Oh no, I knew. Have you ever fallen over on stage? Well, funny you should say that, actually. Um, yes, I have. I have fallen over, and I did blame it on somebody else.
Do you
Maybe
want
the
to tell
person
us a
who
bit
asked that
about that?
question. Well, I've got some pictures that might help
Okay.
me. It's not of me falling over, but it is of. So we had this lovely book sent to us by our official
Oh,
photographer of the Hair and the
that's
Moon.
so lovely. Is
It's
that
so
little you
nice.
on it?
That's
Oh.
me on the front. Hey. But let me show you the picture of the stage that I fell off or felt tripped up. Okay, this is a good one. So this is the stage, and there's Gareth doing his thing.
Hmm.
And part of the show is that the hare gets told not to go up this telescope here,
Yeah.
and the polar bear, Nanook the polar bear, is like,
If
"Oh
you've
no,
just joined us,
silly
you're going to be
girl."
really baffled about what's going on here.
Very sorry. Just talk about me falling over on stage.
Yeah.
But basically, he pulls me off and he's like, no, don't go up there, don't go up there. And he pulled me off and pushed me. And instead of stepping up onto the stage, I tripped and face planted the floor. And
Oh,
it's on a video somewhere.
the one on
And
YouTube, or because I
it's
didn't see that
not,
bit.
I really want to find it. It needs to be found. We haven't seen it yet, and I can't wait. But I think I can't remember it. No, it wasn't the first performance. It was like the second performance of that show, like the second one ever. And there was like 800 people there, and I literally just went boosh, and I was like, oh God, it just went silent. I can't remember what happened, to be honest. And I was like, ah, no. I was
Did
like,
your
oh no, is the
headpiece stay
headpiece okay?
on?
It
'Cause
did.
yeah, that's good. Has there ever been a moment where that's fallen off during a show?
Oh, I
And
don't
then you
think
have
it,
to
not
style
for
it out
me
somehow.
anyway. It's definitely like been on the tilt sometimes. So you kind of just have to kind of like
Oh,
somehow
got to
put it back on.
scratch my ear right
Yeah, just
now.
gonna push that back into place. I can't unless Gareth or Josh want to uh, butt in on that, but I can't remember any headpieces actually falling off. Puppets have broken. There's one bit in a Reynard show. We've got a little cockerel on a stick. He goes to the top of the coop and he like goes a cock-a-doodle-doo, and then in one of the shows the cockerel just went weird, and I was just like, okay, and then he went away again, but he just fell off. Oh,
Josh
Josh said it's
says
happened to
it's
him.
happened to me. You have to let us know how you styled that out, Josh.
Start it
We're
out.
amazing.
But the beauty of that is we're players. We start off with being like the people to begin with anyway. So there's no illusion that we're trying to hide the fact that we're people wearing these headpieces. It's just like
Yeah.
if it happens, you can go and go, oh, Reynard's the fox has disappeared. Let me just go and find him again, and then pick it up and put it back on. I caught it just
Uh,
as it was coming off and quickly pushed it back on my head. Luckily,
oh,
no one
that's good.
noticed.
Oh, I mean, if they did, maybe they were just really polite about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been. I would have been like, your head's go off.
There's two questions on here that are kind of similar.
Okay.
One's by Colby and one's by Josh,
Oh.
Josh Patel, and both of them have asked what our favourite piece of outdoor theatre we've been involved in, with the
Ooh.
Fabularium or otherwise.
Otherwise, I think mm, that's a really hard question. I think I've got two. I'll go with moments rather than shows
Hmm.
because I love all the things that I perform in. That sounds like such a cliche thing to say, but it's true. I
Yeah.
love every show. I love every show that we perform. But there's some standout moments that I really have just stayed with me. So the first time, or yes, the first show that we did of Reynard the Fox, which is our static show, which was the second static show that we did at Just So Festival. And we were in the middle of these woods, and the woods
Hmm.
were packed with all these people. And we finished the show, and like, it sounds really big-headed, but the crowd went mental. The crowd went mental, and I just felt at that moment, I was like, because we'd made the show ourselves and we'd kind of adapted it and, made the stuff ourselves. I just felt really
Hmm.
proud in that moment. I was just like, this is really nice. I
Oh.
love this feeling. So I've kind of felt that was like a little Wembley moment that I had there. That was really lovely. I also love the sheep. The sheep are
Oh, I
so
was just thinking
fun.
that one of my highlights is being a sheep, definitely, and just the amount of mischief you can
You can be
cause.
so naughty,
I
and
did single
people
ladies
don't.
dance once as a sheep. That was
You
fun.
did. You love
Um,
being a sheep, don't you?
I love it. I
It
mean, I
is
love
good.
being a mouse. I was just thinking another good moment was being the mouse playing the euphonium, and a little boy watched the show, and then the next day watched it again and had brought his own version of the euphonium, which was like a
It
pipe
melts
and a
my heart.
funnel. There's a great picture of it somewhere. Oh wow, we've only got a minute left. That is
Ah!
whizzed by.
Oh
Um,
gosh,
I'll
thought
see
too
if there's.
much. Any more
I knew this would happen. We did say we're such chatterboxes.
We did.
As there's a minute left, Jess, for people watching, how do they follow the Fabularium? How can
Good
they get in touch
question.
with you?
You can follow our Instagram, which should be on here somewhere that I've linked up to. So at the Fabularium across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We've got a website, which is www.fabularium.co.uk. Yeah, that's right. You can, and on there are all of our email addresses. So if you wanted to ask us or send us something, you can send us an email.
Hmm.
You can drop us a message on Facebook anytime. Yeah, and there'll be some opportunities now, like with everything being online, to kind of get involved in stuff. We've just made a music video
Yeah.
using some clips
Oh, we've got
from
10
Audience
seconds.
Tenants.
10 seconds, Jess.
Follow us.
If
Thank
there's
you,
anything
Alex.
we haven't covered, please drop us a message. This live
Yeah.
will be saved so people can watch it. Thank you for watching. There's another live on Wednesday at 1 p.m. So we'll see you all then. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye bye.